Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show, an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football. We like to call this Monday Night Football. Let's go ahead and get started. Everybody, I am Wiso Vazquez from FootMex Nation. Like we said before, we're going to talk all about what it is in the Mexican state of soccer, what's happening right now. Apologies for all of you guys that were on our last attempt to try to get on. It was kind of it's kind of hard when we got shut off. But cool things that are coming on. Let's say hi to everyone that's on the chat, our experts. And let's go ahead and get this show on the road. Thank you to everybody that's on the chat. Let's start with Mr. Cesar Hernandez. Cesar, how's it going, brother?
Doing well. Just got a chance to watch some Liga MX playoffs over here in Tijuana, so that was pretty great. Excited to talk about it too, just because the atmosphere is pretty incredible out there. But yeah, doing well.
Great. All right, Nayib Moran, La Ciudad de Mexico, Liguilla less, but you got to watch at least.
Liguilla less, yes, true that we saw, but two great clásicos we saw. Well, maybe the Clásico Tapatío was more balanced, more equal. The Regiomontano was a blowout. I think that's something that we didn't expect, but we'll delve into that definitely tonight in the Mexican Soccer Show.
Great. And Mr. Tom Marshall, who is at the beach with that sun, perfect rays. I'm just kidding. No, how's it going?
Yeah, not bad. I'm a bit disappointed that I can't get the lower third going down there, but when you've got an old computer, I think that's what you get, isn't it?
Dude, Tom, it's pretty sweet, man. You're missing out. It's
right here. Everyone,
I'm honestly disappointed not to have it.
So,
if we leave it down for this show, then you know why.
I'm just going to use that haha Tom because he can't get it on there as my tagline. All right, guys. Well, if you're not joining us, join us on the chat. What's happening on there? Fun stuff. I know that we had some people already make fun of us because we gave them the show didn't start, so I got the says what happened to the stream, laughing out loud. So if you're not joining us, the conversation gets pretty fun. Our Soccer Mexicana Jason Marquez is on there, giving you guys topics, looking at questions, and is going to give it reverted back to us so we can answer them. But first, we sent out a poll earlier today, and we kind of have a little Mexican Soccer Show championship belt that we can give out. In fact, we even tweeted out what the belt would look like. Maybe we can get somebody out there to sponsor it, so maybe kind of looking. We actually send them out pictures or tag them. But it's fun. The question was who won the Mex Soccer Championship belt this weekend? Gignac, Almeida, or Raul? And Cesar, what were the results?
All right, I'm looking right here. Gignac had 50%, Raul had 28%, and Almeida had 22% in third place.
Nice. I kind of wanted maybe when you fill in your other, it's but I guess Almeida 22, Raul 28. It's like everyone's talking about Raul. Nobody was talking to him before this weekend. That's kind of, they like that. All right, so there it is, guys. What about you guys on the chats? Do you agree with the poll? Gignac 50%. We're gonna keep calling it. I said start counting it, Mr. Liguilla, and that's what we'll start, the Liguilla quarterfinal recaps and reactions from you guys right now. Let's talk about, Nayib kind of mentioned it, Tigres and Rayados. Let's just jump right in. Your thoughts, guys, on the show, which it looked like before we got on last week, we said it's probably the hardest to predict, but yet we all had Tigres, without a question, passing on to the semifinals. So we'll start with you, Tom. Did it live up to the Clásico Regio that we normally want, especially with what we saw in the display in the football last weekend?
I think from Tigres' side it did. I thought Tigres were very good. I think there was the first 25 minutes of that second leg where you felt that Rayados at last were kind of at least threatening a little bit, and really. To be fair to him, he took off Zelarayan, he put on Francisco Mesa, and that for me shut down the game and won the game for Tigres. They already had the 4-1 league, so it wasn't particularly difficult. But I don't know. I think that Tigres are absolutely flying right now. I think there's good kind of chemistry in the squad, and I think it's the opposite in Monterrey. I mean, we saw Cardona in the first leg kind of just waiting on the bench. He was so unhappy that he wasn't playing. Mohamed criticised him after the game, basically. I'm pretty sure it was him saying look, the players these days have to be running. They have to run a lot. And Cardona apparently, is a bit lazy. I mean, that's the reputation he has. So I think Monterrey, have got to go back to the drawing board. I mean, that the squad that they have should be doing better. And if it's not done better now for the last 2 seasons, then maybe it's time for some changes at Monterrey. I think it's time to get rid of a couple of players. Although it looks like Mohamed, the coach, is gonna stay on.
Could also be maybe that Tigres showed its best at playing at their best football that we've seen. It was a tough draw. I mean, anyone facing Tigres would be. I don't see another team that I would say advance against Tigres in that one. So kind of with Monterrey not getting the best draw. No one wants to face this Liguilla as much, with Gignac and what's happening with them. So tough draw for Monterrey. It's still exciting to watch, even though it's so one-sided because it's that Regio. Anything could happen. But after that result in the first leg, it kind of you kind of just go, okay, well, we know what's going to happen. There's no way they're going to lose it.
You did kind of think that there was a team that could say, but like Tom said, a lot of the internal conflict, in this quarterfinal series. And it is unfortunate because I thought, if there was a season for them to really step up, especially since everybody's had such high hopes for them, and they did really well during the regular season. Let's not forget that. I know they've had some internal conflict recently, but they did very well during the regular season, and then they just fell apart. And I know it's Tigres. Tigres are a fantastic team, very extremely talented team, but I thought Monterrey would have put up at least a little bit more of a fight. I mean, some of that could be put on Mohamed for his tactical decisions in the first leg. But yeah, no, I was definitely expecting a little bit more from Monterrey.
We expected a disputed series, but at the end, I think, like Tom says, I think Monterrey will have to go back to the drawing board. There might be a serious overhaul in the club, changes that will have to take place, at the end, sort of the relationship between Mohamed and, for example, Carlos Sanchez and Edwin Cardona wasn't at its best. And I think if you have those 2 players not comfortable with the coach, I think stuff like what we saw in the Clásico Regiomontano quarterfinal series, that kind of stuff happens. One team really knows the idea of what they want to play. They're really together. Gignac scores 4 goals in 2 games. So it tells you a little bit how the star player of Tigres did step up, and the star players and Rayados didn't show up to the occasion because there was already a dispute between the coach and the players there. But we'll have to see also Dorlan Pavón. Since that Copa MX game against Chivas, when he, left injured in that match, since then, that was sort of when the season ended for him. He wasn't at his finest heading into these tough games, and I think that affected Rayados as well. In the first leg, we saw mistakes from Cesar Montes that we don't tend to see, and also I think that affected a little bit in the mental aspect, especially in the defensive area of the team. Hugo Gonzalez looked shaky, I think, in some of the decisions on the field as well. So a lot of things played against Monterrey. They look like the weak side overall, the 180 minutes, and Tigres took over in a spectacular form. It was a beatdown.
After this, guys, I'll ask, Tigres continue to be everyone's favorite to win the title?
They have to be, right? I mean, look at what Gignac has been doing over the past few matches. I guess it stretches back within the past 6 or 7 games, and it's just I can't imagine anyone stopping them. I know we're going to talk a little bit further later about the matchup against Xolos. I think Xolos could give them some trouble, but I don't know, man. It's just on paper. It just makes so much sense for Tigres to be winning the whole thing.
Yeah, especially the way they're coming in, and the way they ended the season, and now coming up, being the rivals, playing at a great pace. Gignac, of course, being Gignac, I would say that. Overall, I know we'll get into each other matchups, but guys, forgot to ask this kind of starting to, did these quarterfinals, did they disappoint? Did they, if you had to rate them out of 5 stars, were you hoping for a little bit more, especially in the Clásico Tapatío in the way that it won, or very one-sided on the other one? But Lucas Santos, even though it was close, Morelia and Xolos, how many stars? 4, 3, 4.5?
I'd say 2. I don't think they were the best, honestly.
No.
I don't think they were great games. I mean, I thought that, Toluca, obviously, they were 4-1 up after the first leg as well. I mean, and then I know Santos came back. They did really well. I thought that was, in some ways, the most exciting game of the weekend. because I thought Santos Laguna were absolutely brilliant against Toluca. But, you know, the Clásico Regio, we thought it'd be going down to the wire, that it'd be, you know, a show of real quality, Liga MX quality, not just on the field, but off the field as well with the fans. And then there was violence at the end of that game as well, which, you know, it doesn't give the Liga MX a good reputation. So I thought that was disappointing. I thought Monterrey were just disappointing, to be honest. And then, you know, Morelia Tijuana, yeah, there was tension there as well. But, you know, Morelia that good, really? Probably not. And then in the Clásico Tapatio, I thought, you know, I said to one of the journalists I was sat next to, I was, you know, after you know, 45 minutes, an hour, I was like, this isn't a great game. I mean, in terms of quality, you know, I honestly thought, I know we'll move on to the Clásico Tapatio, but I thought Chivas were there for the taking. And I thought Chivas looked like a team that were lacking confidence in the first half. That, you know, they were trying to obviously get that goal. They were attacking, but they looked like they were out of ideas. And it was almost like Atlas invited them on by changing the formation, only playing one striker. And I thought it was just like an invitation for Chivas to come and attack. And then when Atlas obviously at half-time put on Alostisa, put two up front, and tried to get that vital away goal, you know, it's very difficult, I think, for players to just like kind of flick a switch in the head and then go from defending to taking the game to the opposition. And I just thought, I didn't think it was a great game from Atlas. I think that Profe Cruz, really, if you know you need one away goal to force a team that scored so few goals like Chivas. I mean, I'm not saying go all out attack, but at least keep the formation and the system you've been playing for most of the season and that served you well. And I thought Profe Cruz, he sat back, and I think that cost him. I think he has to take quite a lot of the blame for what happened at Atlas away at Chivas. Like I said, I just think Chivas were there for the taking. I think this was a Chivas team going into that game without much confidence, and you could feel it after 30, 40 minutes inside the stadium. The Chivas fans weren't happy. There was tension there. There was a few, you know, low-key boos and stuff. And then, you know, when Atlas had just sat back, it was just like, okay, just inviting waves of Chivas pressure. And eventually a team's going to score if you do that, especially when you've not got, you know, an Atlas team that isn't used to playing like that style.
Yeah. And I think the Liguilla, real quick, has been reflection of how the regular season has been. You know, I do feel that this season has been really inconsistent with certain clubs. You know, for example, we take a look at Toluca. Toluca was a team that was first place for a lot of weeks, actually, in the league. And now I think it's probably the weakest side of the four sides that are left in the league. So it tells you a little bit of the inconsistencies that the league has sort of lived. I think this season is specifically, I don't know if messed up the calendar with the final being on Christmas and all that stuff, but I really don't find a real explanation to it, or what really is going on there with the inconsistencies that we've seen. Because Tigres right now, we see it as a firm candidate, because it's just running over every single team they're facing. But let's not forget, just 2 months ago, they were really in a bad scenario. They weren't even in the Liguilla zone. So look, it's just this unpredictability, or this sense that, you know, if you're able to make a hot streak in 1 month, you're going to win it. So, I mean, I think it's a good reflection of how the league has been overall this season, I would say, what we saw this past days in the Liguilla.
Yeah, just quickly on the Toluca Chivas, just a quick stat. So we're going to have one of these are the two semi-finalists. Chivas have won one game in the last 7. And Toluca have won one game in the last 7. and they're both in the semi-finals.
Well, no, I think that's definitely. I'll have to agree with everyone else too. It wasn't the most exciting. Although you did have a couple of those exciting first-round matches where you had a lot of high-scoring games, and I think that was from the Wednesday night matches, and I do get that. And in the second leg over here in Tijuana, it did get a little bit exciting once Xolos started pressuring. But even the Xolos Morelia series, like that first leg was awful. It didn't feel like a playoff game. It really didn't feel like a play. Like Morelia was happy with the narrow 1-0 lead. You know, Piojo was sitting back, and then it was very disappointing from Toluca in the last match. I don't think I wouldn't give it a 2 out of 5, maybe a 3, just for what Gignac did, what Santos did in the second leg, which became a little exciting there. But no, I will say it has been a little disappointing.
Do you think maybe it has to do with the seeding tiebreaker? I mean, it feels like those teams kind of known that if there is a tiebreaker, well, they don't have to go. I mean, you saw with Chivas, kind of just waiting to see, but then it looked like Profe Cruz didn't take advantage of just waiting on the Chivas. And I feel like these games, we always kind of expect something bigger, but knowing that those teams are either going to go through, they either want to don't risk it so they can open themselves up, or this is what happens. I mean, how many times have we seen in the season where, the tiebreaker, and I think almost every, it either happens to you during one season or it doesn't. So, expecting.
I don't know. Look,
big,
it was interesting seeing how Almeida took this series. Because for Almeida this was important. It was the third consecutive quarterfinal series, and another Clásico came to his plate. And the pressure, there was a certain pressure. He doesn't want to say that there was a huge pressure, but there's talk about el doblete. They won the cup. Now let's try to do it with the league. And he said something interesting. I've learned of my experiences in Liguillas, and he showed it in the second leg by putting in Ponce to defend. That's a typical from Almeida, but you got to protect the score. And like you said, Wiso, I mean, if you have that tiebreaker, if you have that position on the table, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I think in Liguilla, everything goes. I mean, I think that's what it's made for. Even if you do have to go against your ideology, because Almeida is not the type of coach that's going to put a defender to defend a score. No, he's usually putting wingers to attack. But in that case, it's welcome. And look, with Atlas, I just think it was an awful display in the second leg, but it almost worked. Sometimes it's going to work. The goal came in the 45th minute. Unfortunate how he wasn't offside because Vazquez stayed put there on the lane and allowed Orbelin to come in. But it was the 45th minute. It was almost the end of the halftime. He was going to go 0-0 into halftime. Who knows what would happen there? But it's these decisions that can break you apart, and it certainly broke apart Atlas in that game.
Yeah. We talked about this, but one of the teams that really disappointed, if I look at all of them, was Santos. What happened to what Santos was bringing in, especially when you can't win games? And I said that at the beginning, you have to win these games. I mean, and maybe we took lightly that they haven't lost, and they only lost one game, but you got to win them.
Yeah, I thought Santos were, they were arguably the form team going into the playoffs. I mean, going back a good few games. They've only lost one in the last 10 right now, even with that loss. But against Toluca, I'm not really sure what happened in the first leg. I don't really know. I know that not having Giannini and Sandoval, they were definitely hurt by that. But I don't know. They just suddenly became this weak team that, I don't know, they're making all sorts of errors at the back and stuff. And I don't know. I thought it was a shame that Santos didn't get through to the semis, because I think they're a more exciting team than Toluca. I think they give opportunities to young Mexican players. And they're better to watch, I think. And we saw that in the second leg. I mean, if I'm a Toluca fan and I watch that second leg, I'm thinking, how is this team in the semis? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I thought they were awful. I mean, they didn't even look like they were fighting for the second ball.
I think that was the most unfortunate thing, too, was that you watch that second leg and you think that, like, well, if there's a team that really deserves to be going to the semis, it's Santos at this point. And I do actually think that Sandoval, that actually had a little bit more of an impact. And I think that if you were to ask some Santos fans, they would probably say that missing someone like Sandoval in the midfield was a big deal for them. And also, Sambuesa came back for Toluca too, so maybe that was also something that hasn't been recognized, at least recently, for Toluca. And to have him back might have been a huge impact, a huge influence for them in the attack.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying he was part of every goal that Toluca scored over that series. And he's come back and he's been out for quite a while. And to be honest, he's been brilliant. I mean, it's the same, menacing. Sometimes he's so frustrating. He frustrates you. He dives on the floor, he rolls around. But at the end of the day, if you're a supporter of that team, you want Sambuesa on your team. You want him on your side because he makes things happen. I mean, he's a player who really does make things happen. And I think it's a massive boost for Toluca having him back.
And look, with that series, that Santos Toluca, I mean, I agree with what Tom and Cesar have said about the team. I mean, I think a bit disappointed in the first, you're playing home and you sort of they lost the series in Torreon. I mean, that's it. And Chepo said it after the game. But with Toluca in that match, someone like Aaron Galindo was surprising as well. Aaron Galindo sort of rejuvenated himself. in that series and made several interesting blocks in the area that could have gone to go. Talavera also made good saves, I would say as well. But Santos had a good shot of making the miracle happen. I mean, I think that's something that we can sort of conclude. And Toluca has been weak at home, you know, at Nemesio 10, La Bombonera. It's a renovated stadium, but they've lost 5 games, you know, if we include the recent loss against Los Guerreros. So that's where you know, I think the weakness lies for Toluca, and I think that's where Chivas will have to take advantage, you know, get a good result over there in Toluca to have that sort of good way of heading into Estadio Chivas in the weekend.
Well, I know that I was completely wrong. Our intern Amy made fun of me because I said spicy for the Tapatio was going to be this type of game. Thank you, Amy, for that. Some of you guys saw Nayib and I on Kick last Monday, our predictions. Nayib, how do we do in our predictions? I put Santos in because of the dark horse. I said,
I think I got 2 right. I got 2 right.
Yeah. But then I switched it for the Mexican soccer show, and I think I got all of them right. I think we all did except for you. Because I think we all had Tigres, Toluca, Chivas, and Xolos except for Nayib, who had Atlas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 50%. That's not bad for Liga MX prediction. That's incredible.
I know. Good into that. All right, guys. Join us on the chats. Continue to ask you the questions. Jason's answering all the questions right now. I think there's a debate about Jürgen Damm. What's going on? Completely not off topic, but we'll go into that towards a little later in the game. Let's talk about Rayados, Atlas, Morelia, Santos, the losers that didn't make it in their seasons. What team left the most on the table? Let's just say gave it all. If you got to pick out of these 4s that, and kind of what you kind of said, you know, Cesar, a little bit about maybe Santos deserving to make it, but what team, if you have to pick one, was also the closest to the semifinals without really getting there? If you have to pick one question.
I don't know. I think if you look forward to next season, I like what Santos did a lot because of that young base of players. Sandoval, Ulises Rivas, Jorge Sanchez he played really well the other day, and Arteaga as well. I think you've got a really solid young Mexican base there that you can add to, and I think Santos will be a really good team next season. I think Atlas as well. It was the way that Atlas went out was, I think it kind of was like bursting the bubble really. But it also has a strong young Mexican base of players. But yeah, I think those two teams. I think Monterrey does need a shake-up now. There's money there. They need to sell the players. Like, you know, even Carlos Sanchez and Cardona, it's not worked out for them. They've not got the title. And then invest some proper money with some big signings to match what Tigres have done. I think that's what every Monterrey fan now wants to see. And then, who's the other team? Who was it again? Morelia.
Morelia.
Exactly.
We didn't talk about Morelia a lot.
Well, I think the first, they're missing Rui Diaz in the second leg. He was injured in the first leg, and he's clearly the most important member of that roster. We saw that with the goal he scored that saved them from relegation. I think something to remember about Morelia too is just that what they've reached and the fact that they were just 1 goal away from knocking out Xolos. I would say that's a very successful season. They didn't get relegated, and they made it to the quarterfinals of the playoffs. I think that's pretty impressive from their part. But yeah, no, I think with them it was just, and they were just like you mentioned earlier, Nayib, about the away goals. It's just if they could have held Xolos there to a 0-0 result, they could have walked, maybe crawled into the semis. But no, I think that's why we didn't see much from them.
Real quick about Atlas, I think the discovery of Luis Reyes, I think Tom mentioned it last week in a piece for ESPN, being the breakout star, the main revelation in the season. And there's no doubt about it. I mean, you see the guy, how he crosses into the box, how he moves on the left flank, the versatility, the height, is really noticeable when he was playing against Chapo in that area of the field. I think that was basically Atlas' main attacking option in Estadio Chivas. It was just give the ball to Luis Reyes and let's see what happens. Send the ball in and see. But I think that's been, a great story because there's always this debate, with the Osorio area of like how many left-footed players there are, specifically there on the left flank. The minutes that Jorge Torres Nilo got and there was never nothing special coming from Torres Nilo after all those years on the left flank. Now you got Luis Reyes on the picture, and I think Luis Reyes is going to eat the whole thing up. You know, I think he's going to take over and probably going to be a major part of El Tri this summer.
Yeah, I think he can be Mexico's left back. I mean, I think Paul Aguilar, when he came back on the right, I thought he was disappointing. Obviously, he needs to play a lot of games. I don't think he's ready. Aguilar is 30 plus now as well. So so obviously, I'm thinking Aguilar on the right, Layun on the left. But you know, we know that Osorio prefers Layun on the right, and I think Luis. I mean, watched him live just over the last few days. I mean, he was exceptional. Like you said, it's like Atlas's main attacking threat. I mean, that says probably too much about Atlas than it should. But yeah, I think he's a really good player, and I'm excited to see how he develops with the national team as well.
Especially since Layun is pretty versatile, and it isn't very surprising when if you were to be in a more midfield role, like on the left wing, or not saying like he's a left winger, but just maybe like a left midfield role. So I think that wouldn't be surprising to see Layun above him and to see Reyes right behind him as that left back.
All right, so in that question, aside from Rayados, Atlas, Morelia, and Santos, I think ended up the season pretty well. I mean, if we're going into the fact that the season that they all had, Rayados spending a little more money, I think is a little disappointing. We wanted to see this Rayados, especially with what they brought and what they're playing, make that extra step, and it hasn't happened for them. Let's talk about the 4 semifinalists. Ranking them, would you agree, guys? Tigres, number 1, Xolos, number 2, Chivas, number 3, Toluca, number 4. Who agrees?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I have.
I would switch Xolos and Chivas. I would put Chivas second and Xolos third.
Chivas second with what little football they displayed, Nayib.
No. Well, I think the return of Rodolfo Pizarro is going to change the panorama of things for Chivas. I think the guy is really focused on the objectives. You know, he's a guy that in the 6 months he's been there, you know, he suffered injuries, but when he's on the pitch, you can tell the difference right away. I mean, you saw yesterday how he sort of made Fierro a better player, how he made Pulido a better player on the field. The 1-2 passing was working. If Pizarro is able to reach 100% in the next couple of days, I think Chivas will definitely be in a good position to reach the final, I would say.
Yeah,
Pizarro.
Almeida called him the cerebro, the brains of the team in the second when he came off the bench, and it's true. He was linking up play up front, and that's what Chivas have missed for me. You know, all this time where they've not scored a goal from open play. For me, it's that link between the defensive midfielders and the forward, and then introducing the wingers as well. They've not had that kind of person to link all the play together. I think Pizarro, if he comes back, is massive. Almeida said he's 80% fit now. But I think after that performance, I'm pretty sure he's going to be starting because he came on and he did so well. But in terms of the rankings, yeah, I think I'll go with Nayib, me. Although at this stage of the season, I don't know, you just fancy Tigres so much over Xolos. I just think it's going to be a really difficult game. But Toluca as well. I mean, I know I just slated him for quite a long time. You know, like Wiso said then. I mean, Chivas, are they back? You know, can we say they're back? I'm not sure. And I think this, Thursday's game is massive. I mean, going away to the Bombonera, I think there's still a big question mark. I mean, I know they got past Atlas, but we know Atlas. I mean, people talk about Cruz Azul, but Atlas, their history of kind of messing things up goes way before Cruz Azul's.
Yeah.
I mean, really does. I mean,
it was an Atlas that was talking to me over the weekend how they're so lucky Cruz Azul is always in the news.
Yeah. No, but honestly, like going to that game, it was like, and that's what annoyed me about Profe Cruz's strategy as well. It's like you're just there in the stadium, like Chivas are going to do this, aren't they? And it's not because Chivas, have been playing really well. You're just like, Atlas are going to find a way of losing this, and that's why I didn't like Profe Cruz dropping back either, because and my friend even said to me, Tomas, he said, Chivas are going to score late on and Atlas are going to have nothing, and I don't know. But anyways, yeah. But yeah, I think that. So yeah, any of these 4 teams, I think Tigres is definitely quite a bit ahead. I think you'd back them to back Xolos, and then Chivas and Toluca, I think it's going to be pretty tight, to be honest.
Yeah, I have a similar. I mean, the only difference that I have is I have Tigres number 1. The only difference I have is I have Xolos above Chivas, and then it goes Toluca at the number 4 position. But I think this once again confirms just how much we all think that Tigres are going to run away with this thing. Even though I have Xolos at number 2, that's in theory that if they somehow sneak past Tigres, that they would then defeat either Chivas or Toluca.
Well, the perfect matchup, right? I mean, let's talk about the final that everybody wants: Tigres, Chivas.
At least ratings wise.
I know, Cesar, you want the Xolos. I mean, you're there in San Diego. It'd be great for you to go. But I mean, it's what they want. So the semifinal matches are Tigres Xolos on Thursday, Toluca Chivas, and then obviously on Sunday. Let's talk about the matches playing out. Looks like everyone has Tigres, but the Xolos has a chance. It's not like this is a. Does Xolo have a chance of beating Tigres more than Rayados had a chance of beating Tigres before the matches? Obviously, can we see Xolos giving him a little bit more of a? All right, this is Piojo. If we look at a team that's been doing the best for a whole year, he's been bragging about the points, how they're the Real Madrid of this season. If we're looking at rankings, right, Xolos should give him a little bit more of a headache.
I think they'll have just a slight advantage over what Monterrey had. That's just because the recent problems that Monterrey has clearly had, and Xolos haven't had that at all. I'm not saying that they're going to beat Tigres. I think they'll give them a hard time, and I think one of the main reasons that they're going to give them a hard time is that you have Lajud, the 23-year-old Mexican goalkeeper who has been awesome. He's been fantastic in the last 2 quarterfinal matches. You can say that he's the main reason why Xolos are now in the semifinals. And I've been hesitant about the guy. I haven't been that convinced by him, and I've said that here in the Mexican Soccer Show. But he's been incredible for them recently. And I think that if he continues to play the way that he has, then Xolos have that chance. And if Piojo can somehow keep that defense compact, very compact, I think there's a chance. And I think I could also talk about Xolos with the counterattacks with Aviles, set pieces with Malcorra, but I don't know. I'm not saying they're going to go through and beat Tigres. I'm thinking that they might give them more trouble than people expect.
Nayib, Tigres a veces se apaga, like you said it, right? You have right before the end of the season, everyone was talking about this wasn't the same Tigres. The team, can it happen in the Liguilla? And if we see it, it's danger zone.
Se ve difícil. I mean, you have to look at how Pachuca defeated Tigres in a 180-minute series, and that just happened a couple of weeks ago. And look, Xolos doesn't have center backs like Omar Gonzalez and Oscar Murillo. I mean, the importance that those 2 center backs had in that series, sort of blocking Gignac of spaces and just making his life miserable, is something that few defenders can do. And look, I don't have nothing against Valenzuela. And the youngster, is it Vargas, Cesar, who's on the center?
Obviously, Vargas and Topo. There are no Omar Gonzalez Murillo, that's for sure.
What? Topo Valenzuela?
And it can be Topo. Topo can surprise us all,
Topo was
maybe.
in the national team. Come on.
But I think that's going to be the difficulty here with Xolos. I mean, also, what happens in the midfield, with Guido Rodriguez? Is he going to be able to block Guido Pizarro? Because look, the recent game, it was a 3-0, and I remember Cesar told us that it was the worst game that Xolos gave in the season. So you have that as a recent memory. Yep. And so a lot of things have to work out perfectly to sort of prevent that from going on again, from another 2-0, 3-0. Because if it's a 2-0, 3-0 on Thursday for Tigres, the series is over, I think, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's right. I mean, on another plus for Xolos, if you want to make the argument. Well, I think there's 2 things. I think closing at home on an artificial pitch. Nobody likes playing there. Tuca Ferretti has criticised it before. He knows that you have to do a special preparation when you're playing on that pitch. And I think the Tigres have, they've only conceded 13 goals in the 19 Liga MX games they played this season. But I think if there's a weakness in the team, you look at Ayala and Juninho, and you look at the pace, and then you put Hurtado in there, and you think they can get something there. I think I think Xolos are probably the most vertical team in the league. And Tigres are almost the most horizontal in terms of sideways passing, moving forward slowly. So it's almost like a clash of styles here as well. But I think that if there's an antidote to that Tuca style, it is a Xolos team that's going to get the ball in defence and work it as quickly as possible forward, bypass the midfield as quickly as possible, and get the ball up front. and get Hurtado on the ball. I mean, that's got to be the mission from Xolos. Get Hurtado on the ball as close to goal as possible because he makes things happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's all about the pace. It's all about Hurtado or even Paul Arriola. Paul Arriola, who's just as fast, if not faster, than Hurtado.
Yeah, but that's going to be an interesting decision. What Cesar just said. I mean, I don't know because he used in the first leg against Morelia, he used Arriola. In the second leg, he used Henry Martin, and he used him because he needed goals. You know, he needed. That's why he started 2 9s. But I actually like Martin. You know, have another body in there, you know, because Milton Caraglio can actually move to the wings. Of course, he's not a winger. He's not known for speed. But put a body on Ayala and Juninho. I think that can sort of destabilize a little bit of what's going on and allow Aviles to move around more. You know, because I do feel that they're going to mark Aviles with a lot of players. Probably 2 players are going to be on Aviles from the start. So you got to sort of find those spaces. And I think that's where Malcorra could be important. I think Malcorra has been sort of a sleeper in the side because he scored important goals for Xolos in the season. But he can be has a great shot outside the box as well. So I think that's going to be interesting. The decision that Piojo makes. Does he go with two strikers or does he go with Arriola? You know, I don't know. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, just really quickly. Yeah, no, just because he went with a 4-2-3-1 in the first leg. Second leg, he went with a 4-4-2. So let's see what. I like that you brought up Malcorra because Malcorra could be, you know, surprisingly important, extremely good with those set pieces, with those free kicks. I think that's something to keep an eye on.
And it's a big game in a lot of ways for Piojo, because if there is a criticism, I know apart from his personality and his explosive side, it is the tactical side and being adaptable, and he has shown that in his time with Club Tijuana. But it's these games that are going to stick in people's memory, and these games where you have to make an impact, and these games where he can really prove himself that side to people. And so if he can get this Club Tijuana team, can get a result in the Estadio Universitario, bring them back to, you know, Estadio Caliente and go through against Tigres. Imagine. I mean, we all know he's going Club America, but just imagine boost that he gets in terms of his career path from doing that.
Hey, I wanted to chat. I mean, on the chat, they were talking about Jürgen Damm. Lengthy conversation for what Jason tells us was happening on the chat. Overrated? I mean, this is what people were saying. Jürgen Damm overrated, guys. What you've seen recently, I think we've all seen the potential what Jürgen Damm can do. Supposedly he's one of the fastest players on the planet. Although I question that, or whoever did that study. But that's the question right now. What's happening? Do you agree, really quick, Jürgen Damm? A little bit underrated right now, overrated, just fine. No one's really keeping tabs on him.
I mean, it depends who's rating him. I mean,
Eagerness player.
But no, I think that he's been injured recently. I think he started the year really well, and when he's played, he's been very, very good. Obviously, he's out the team now with Tigres. But the thing that I'd say about Jürgen Damm is we always get the European rumours, and there's a reason for that. You know, even before he'd made his debut in the first division, he'd been on trial at Manchester United. It's because he's got something that in the modern game, and especially in Europe, is just an asset that everybody wants, and it's that raw pace and ability to go beyond the last defender. I think he's still got work to do. He knows it as well. I spoke to him a few weeks ago. He needs to work on his final ball and finishing. But it's that when you look at Jürgen Damm, you can imagine that player, if he can get his decision making right in the final third, then he would be one hell of a player, like one of Mexico's best players instantly if he could just fix that bit of his game.
I feel like Chucky overshadowed.
Yeah, I don't think he's overrated. I'm not gonna say he's the next great thing, blah 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 blah. But it's just I think he's proven, you know, at some points during the season too, just the player that he really is capable of being. And I think what unfortunately he also gets compared to a lot of I mean, Mexico has a lot of talented wingers. Let's just say that. So sometimes he lives a little bit in the shadows of a Vela, of a Tecatito, of a Lozano. So I think it's a little hard for him to stand out when there's a lot of other talented Mexican options. But no, I don't think he's overrated.
A top prospect with a lot of room of improvement. You know, I think that's how we would put it. I mean, he still has a lot to go. Yeah. A lot of national team call-ups. You know, still ahead of him. You know, and I think that's going to be interesting to see where he plays this summer. I don't know if it's going to be the Confed Cup or is it going to be the Gold Cup. But wherever he plays, I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting option for Osorio. But like Tom says, I mean, the decision making sometimes in the final third might not be the best, but when he's sharp, I mean, it's noticeable. I mean, he can single-handedly defeat a team. I mean, we saw it I remember that game in the Conca Champions. It was Tigres Pumas at Ciudad Universitaria. I mean, just demolished Pumas defense. I mean, made it into tatters and just cruised on the flanks. So I mean, he has those episodes where he just stands out from the rest. But there's other episodes where you say, man, he could have done better in that play. You know what I mean?
I think from a team point of view, well, if you've got then so I think he actually pulls away players as well, which obviously creates space for teammates.
Yeah, that's true.
Very true. What I don't want, damn, and I feel that this happens to Mexican players a lot, is the Venado Medina type of what happens. and it's the amazing footwork, gets it, but just doesn't know what to do towards the end, which could be very I mean, he can do damage in the Mexican league, but going abroad, I mean, you have to have those finishing. If you're looking at what Chucky Lozano's is doing, and that some of the Chivas players, Orlin Pineda, where it's this crossover type of player, and we've seen them before in different generations, where just amazing footwork, super fast, and then doesn't really do anything. We saw it in the. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, no, I'd say Dam's even quicker than those guys. He's got something that if you can harness what the talent that Dam has, then he'll be an unbelievable player, and that's why he's had all this interest. But I think you look at. I mean, I think decision making in the modern. I mean, not just in the modern game, but it's always been that thing you can't quite put your finger on. But players that have it, i.e., someone like Ronaldo or Messi, who just instinctively know when. But not just them though. They know when to pass. They know when to shoot. But even like someone like Giannini, the Santos Laguna, I feel he's improved quite a lot of that.
Bofo Bautista. I'm not kidding. I'm not doing it as a laugh, but when he was in Chivas, I mean, I felt that guy was always on. If you remember those games, I know you laugh at me, but it's the first person brought up. And sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, but I mean, it's what defines. I think decision making is that extra, the kind of the X factor. You can put the pace, you can put the ability to strike a ball, but it's difficult to teach that absolute decision making.
I mean, you see that with Rafa Marquez. Why is Rafa Marquez still playing in the national? Is that decision making that few players have, not just Mexico, in the world, like Tom mentions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy to have that pass, make that correct pass in that given time. So it's a really important asset that makes you stand out from the rest of players, not just in Mexico, but everywhere.
The unfortunate thing with Dam, though, is I feel like what would be perfect for him is he doesn't have to make a leap to a giant club. I think he could do very well in Eredivisie, but then that's the big problem: is who can afford him in the Eredivisie? Who'd be willing to pay for what Tigres are going to be asking for in the Eredivisie? And I think that's what's difficult. And he's in that one piece that Tom Plasma, I think he recognized it as well. Just that it's tough for him to leave because of the price. That not only he has, but a lot of other Mexican players.
Exactly. All right, well, we kind of veered off. Thank you for your questions that you have on the chat. Tigres, Xolos, Toluca, Chivas. Everyone agrees Tigres is going to go through, right? If we make a prediction, there's not anybody that's going, no, it's going to be an upset, Xolos?
No, but I think it'll be tight. I don't think Tigres are going to run away with this one.
I
agree. If Bielko's smart, he'll keep that defense compact, and I think he'll give him trouble. But yeah, I think Tigres will go through.
Tigres will go through. I think Gignac will score at least 2 goals in this series, and he's going to continue. Xolos is, I'm going to go Tigres. And then Toluca, Chivas. Let's talk about, Toluca, obviously, their centenario. Chivas, with the pressure they have from being the most popular team, I think, and finally Almeida coming in. Tom, Chivas, the key to the victory. We talked about Pizarro is going to make Chivas great again. But other keys that we need to establish with what Chivas needs to do to beat Toluca in La Bombonera.
Yeah, I think they need to do what Almeida's been teaching them. That they need to absolutely fly at Toluca. Then they've got to be intelligent on the counter-attack. We know that Toluca are dangerous going forward. They showed away against Santos Laguna that they've got that ability, to wrap up a game within 90 minutes there. And I think that Chivas have got to use the pace. I mean, this is the youngest team in the league against the oldest team. You know, Toluca's average age is, I think it was over the season, 30.3 years. And Chivas was the youngest, was it 24 or something? So they've got to use that youth to the advantage. And obviously Toluca have got to use their experience and kind of shut down the game. And, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see Sambuesa, because we know that tackle that he did on Isaac Brizuela, which put him out for the whole season. So there's an element of nastiness there in this game. And I'm sure Chivas, you know, knowing that Toluca, if they go past, can level them on titles, on 11 titles, I'm sure Chivas will be desperate to stop Toluca winning in the 100th year. So it's going to be an interesting game. I don't think there's going to be a lot in this one either. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Chivas, Toluca, who do we have?
Yeah, Chivas.
I'll go
Who do you
Chivas.
want? Now, who do you want? Who is gonna? Everyone wants Chivas to advance.
Yeah, I think Chivas will go through too, and I think
Except for the Americanistas out there.
who'll be rooting for Sambu. I think, and I think
that's gotta piss him off a little bit. Excuse my French, but it's gotta get a little bit mad that Sambuesa's tending to go to a final. America's not in the Liguilla.
I feel like some Americanistas might be like, I don't know. I feel like they might be rooting for Sambu, right?
Well, that's one of the reasons I remember Johnny always talking about the fact that why America was horrible, because they didn't have a Sambu. So, I mean, it maybe they want Toluca to keep winning to show that what's happened with the train wreck that is America. But so yeah, I want to say Toluca because of I want to be right on my prediction from the very beginning of the year, right, Cesar? We want to cash in on that.
I'm changing that. I'm not cashing. I
want to be able to go back and be like,
none, so.
see, I told you Toluca was going to go. I didn't doubt it for a second, but it looks like Chivas and then Tigres to make that the ratings go crazy with Mexican.
You know, real quick with Chivas, I just have a feeling that like a lot of weight came off Almeida's shoulders yesterday. You know,
Cut his hair.
No, but I think this sort of idea of like not making it out of the quarterfinals was something that sort of was a red mark in his tenure. Although I think his tenure has been spectacular. You know, he revived the essence of El Rebaño Sagrado at the top. You know, 2 cup titles, bringing back the team into protagonism. I think this is a moment. I mean, he has to seize it, and I think the players understand it. This is a new beginning, kind of. It's like we got over that hump that's been bothering us for the past 2 seasons. Now there's 4 teams left. Tigres is the sort of team that is unbeatable. But I think that will be interesting to see with Chivas, you know, now in the next days.
When we talk about keys victory of the game, he types Sambu's strategy, break Pizarro. And now, obviously, will Sambuesa get a red card? Probably.
But speaking of those injuries, I think Chivas are going to go through, and I think that they're going to have they don't have that first leg isn't until Thursday. Well, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough for some of those injured players to start really recovering. But I think that'll be a factor there. There's no Wednesday games they'll have until then, but. No, I could see Chivas go through it. I think a lot of this has to do also with just how disappointing Toluca was. Like Toluca needs to wake up. That's my key for Toluca is wake up. It's just after that quarterfinal series. I know they had that big win in the first leg, but they were just extremely disappointing. And that's I'm gonna say that Chivas are gonna be going through.
It's important, the importance of Carlos Salcido also. I mean, because Carlos Salcido, we thought, you know, that his career was sort of over.
He's all depressed.
And now he's back into the fold, and he's probably going to start all the games now for Chivas until the end of the season. And it's just interesting seeing him because he represents a lot in the Mexican game. I mean, think about it. He played in PSV, did well there. He went to Fulham, then came back to Mexico. This versatile player, you know, at the cusp of his career, you know, at the end of his career, and he's at a big stage, you know. I mean, Rafa already did it with León, winning the bicampeonato and everything. It seems like here with Salcido, something of that sort can happen as well, no? It's like, this is your moment, you know, this is a moment that you've been wanting for a long time, now you have it, no?
Espinosa Paz to get one more championship. That'd be great. All right, guys, let's, Mexican Soccer Show all agrees, Tigres and Chivas. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about Europeos. So obviously the season in Europe is ending soon. Let's talk all about, we have, since we started late, we're going a little later. So the big weekend and the news of the weekend, Raul Jimenez. Some of you, what happened with Raul Jimenez? Why is everyone talking about it right now? So he got another title. Big whoop. It's a big deal.
I think also, I mean, it's if we take a step back too.
Did he do anything this season?
Well, Raul Jimenez, who is actually he's been injured he's had injury problems for most of the season. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities to get a starting role recently. In the previous match, not this one over the weekend, he scored the game winner for Benfica, which got him one step closer to the championship. And then he scored once again over the weekend. It was a 5-0 win, so it wasn't the game winner, clearly. But that was able. They gave him their second title, his second title since going to Benfica in 2015, and it's the 4th consecutive season that Benfica have won a title. And it's just when you look at, I think he's won, I think a total of 4 championships when you count cup matches and whatnot since he's arrived in 2015. So I think it's quite significant for Jimenez, especially heading into the summer with him having this kind of confidence. So yeah, I think it's a big deal for him.
Neri Castillo won like every year with
Olympiacos. That was Olympiacos though. They're never not going to win the Greek title.
So Raul Jimenez, and that was one of our, who deserves a Mexican championship belt. Raul Jimenez, yeah, I agree with you. His getting playing time, winning, the confidence coming back in. We definitely going to need Mexican strikers this summer. I mean, all the games that we have.
If there's a time for him to have a good little run, get some momentum, it's now. It's now before we hit a busy summer. So,
yeah. I think the other. I don't know. I mean, I'll give the more negative side. I know his goal ratio is pretty good since he's been at Benfica, but he started 14 matches in 2 seasons. You know what I mean? For a team that really isn't in a great league, it's not, the Portuguese league isn't a great league. You go to Benfica because you want to move on. You go to Benfica to start a game, score loads of goals, and get a big money move somewhere else. I mean, I know it's a big club. I was there a few months ago actually, and the stadium's unbelievable, big fan base. But 14 games in the league in 2 years, for me as a 26-year-old, this isn't a kid anymore. Yeah. This is where you establish yourself in Europe. He didn't do it in Atletico Madrid. Mm-hmm. He had the chance. He went to Atletico Madrid, and it was a bit like Chicharito. Nobody at first thought, he's never going to play. He played. He just didn't quite cut it. And now he's gone to Benfica. For some reason, he's not been able to quite cut it again. So from my point of view, it's slightly worrying that. And I think it's like for a few of these Mexican players now, they're in Europe. Yeah. This is a massive summer for Raul Jimenez.
And this is where I was kind of going to, guys. I don't remember a summer where there's really not many positives in all of our Europeos. Guardado, Moreno, which are, I would give them both. But anybody else really, killing
even Guardado, Moreno, like they couldn't win. They couldn't win the title. They couldn't even get a championship.
As far as playing time, if we're looking at a year ago, it looks like everyone was going in. You had the Portri guys kind of playing, everyone doing well. Raul Jimenez was starting to come back. Chicharito had a great year, and then you obviously kind of felt in that whatever stump. And then this year, now we're looking. I don't see Chicharito there next season at all. They're going to look for it to sign. I think over yesterday, the coach was saying and the team was saying that they're looking to get rid of some teams of how badly they did during the season.
Over there, for example, I think Jonathan has had a consistent season in La Liga, as has Diego Reyes, and it will be interesting to see what happens with Diego because he's alone in Español. Will Espanyol decide to buy him, or how is that going to play? Because that has affected him in the past 2 seasons. He did well in Real Sociedad too, Diego Reyes, but couldn't stay there because the price was too high. Okay. Now he's in Espanyol, and there's kind of a similar case going on. Okay. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
No news out of Carlos Vela. It's not even mentioning Guillermo Ochoa. Just like what Tom was saying, I think this summer is going to be huge.
Salcedo as well, another one with an uncertain future. Miguel Layún, what's going to happen with him? Herrera, is he going to stay in Porto? Is he? What's his plan?
Herrera just scored.
Yeah.
Pass from Tecatito, Herrera heading it in.
But he's still been very inconsistent and
Who's had the best European year? If we can give one player, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, it's kind of
Jonathan Dos Santos.
Jonathan Dos Santos. That's what I'm saying.
Clearly, Jonathan.
Reyes.
Reyes.
Reyes has been. I think this season Reyes has established himself, and he said, This is my level. I can play at this level."
But they're just blah. It's not like they've been amazing. Normally we're thinking of, okay, look, somebody's tearing it up in Europe.
Well, Jonathan, actually, this is the season where he's played the most minutes. Since he left Barcelona, and I think that's been crucial. He hasn't had that many injuries as well. Knock on wood, that doesn't freaking start injuring himself now when El Tri will need him.
I've said it. Los Santos brothers cannot play together on a national team. It's impossible. It's like,
Tom.
Go on.
We'll see real quick with what's going on over there in Portugal. Look, since the Port 3 started to exist, Porto hasn't won a big title. And what does that say about the Mexican Legion? Because when there was a Colombian Legion in Porto, they won the league. And now with the Mexican Legion,
Osorio and Pavel won titles. So
no, but like the thing here with the Port 3 is just how inconsistent it was. I mean, look, Hector Herrera is captain, but sometimes he didn't play in the big games. Tecatito, I know he had injuries, but never seemed to sort of have established starting role in the team. And Layun is not even in the squad list, so I mean, it is worrying there.
Kind of a tangent, but am I the only one who's still a little confused why Hector Herrera is a captain for Porto? I just don't know why I don't see him as a captain.
Yeah,
it's kind of a strange thing to talk about. I just
the team can only run its pace of its leader. And there.
Hey, I tell you the big worry from a Mexican national team point of view with what's going on now with the players in Europe. And it's the MLS are going to come in and make offers for not just one or two of them, but a few of them, because we know they've got big decisions to make this summer. And for me, that's the big worry for this national team, because we know that they can make more money in MLS than they can, because none of them are super clubs in Europe. I mean, they'll be earning good money, but MLS are going to offer them more money than that. And there are points in the career now where you look at someone like Herrera, and 2 years ago you would have said, right, Herrera, let's go Premier League. Let's go to a good team in La Liga. You're not saying that anymore with Herrera. You're not saying that with Layun anymore. And even Chicharito, Guardado, Ochoa, everywhere you look, you're thinking, right, what's your next step? A bit like Giovanni when he was at Villarreal. It was like, okay, you were at a really good club. But Gio never did enough to get back to that Barca level. It was always like, right, I can play at a club kind of, a decent level, or I can go make loads more money in MLS and chill out in LA. And I think that quite a few of these Mexican players, if this summer or in the next, 24 months, are going to have a decision to make about MLS, because MLS are going to they're on record saying they're absolutely desperate to bring in Mexican players, and I'm sure they're going to back it up.
And I think a big factor here, really quickly about that, is that a lot of these guys they're in their late 20s. Someone like Ochoa is like early 30s. It's just next World Cup might be their last, and recognize it like it is in their career. And I don't blame them for being tempted by Major League Soccer. You look at Gio. Gio looks like he's having a great time. I know it's not having the best season, but you could imagine just like with the lifestyle, the money. I don't really blame him. Like, it's just I know why that. Yeah,
but it would be
he's having a good time.
But for the national team, it would be.
Yeah,
I think it'd do significant damage. I think what Mexico needs now is, we've been talking about these same players. It feels like 3-4 years. Where's the next wave coming now? And I think that's the big worry. Where's the next wave coming? I mean, is Lozano going to go? And then there's talk this week about him staying until December now.
Yeah, well, we were talking about last time. In fact, when was the last time that we saw moves from Mexico to Europe? Who was the last player? Salcedo?
Was it Salcedo? I think. Yes, I think Salcedo was the last one.
Before that, we've seen these constant. We're seeing these.
Fabian, yeah.
What are we talking about, Fabian?
Fabian's season has been consistent.
There we go. And this is how Europeos have been telling the back of my mind, because I'm trying to think, maybe it's just the stories aren't there. They're doing their job. They're playing. They're not. And then I think Fabian probably is consistent now that we talk about it. Dang.
But look, I mean, staying in Europe should be their main priority, especially with 1 year before the World Cup. I mean, we've noticed that.
Though, Nayib, we have look at the competition in Liga MX now.
Look, right now the national team is in a stable situation. They're on the verge of qualifying to the World Cup at an early pace, after all this nightmarish stuff that happened in the last two hexagonals. And the main reason that's going on is because the players are in Europe. There's a different mentality. The way they see the game tactically is different, it's quicker. And you see that when they're on the pitch and they execute the ideas that Osorio wants to put on display. When you come to a comfort zone in MLS, the speed of the game will go abruptly down, and I think that will affect how quick you react, and I think we're going to see this in the Confederation. I mean, I do understand that there's no playing time, but it's not all of them, that it's like,
no.
The Lyon case is boring.
There are some players that could come back to Mexico, and I wouldn't say, all right, they failed it, and it's okay. Let's get them going. That could be Ochoa in obviously in what's been happening. So we'll see, and I think what we're going to see this summer on these guys, is their playing time affecting or not. Chicharito hasn't done anything lately, and we know because of coaching. That's another one. If someone wants to kind of research, if we look at last year during the season that the Deportes had, Chicharito and everyone playing well, how many of them had coaching changings? Because I think it affects a ton, for good or bad. So I think most of them there's some kind of coaching change in when they're there. So before we leave, let's talk a little bit of the national team. Big week already. As of yesterday, I think 2 weeks from yesterday, the Mexico versus Croatia in Los Angeles, and then Ireland. Ireland already bringing their best, their A team against Mexico. They have, I think, qualifiers, so they want to be ready for that. And kind of Nayib and I were talking about this, but the final will be that Saturday, right, Nayib?
The final will be Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah.
So
in the friendly Saturday, no? I think.
Yeah, friendly Saturday.
Yeah, friendly Saturday. So if we take into account, well, Tigres really doesn't have that many players. I mean, you have Durandam, you have
Dueñas.
Yeah,
maybe Ayala. Ayala's had a great season. Torres Nilo, I don't know.
Chivas. If Chivas makes it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just those games are. I mean, apparently he's going to score. He's going to call a 32-player squad. 32 players for these two games, and he's going to take them around, and then he's going to kind of bit by bit whittle it down, and then for the qualifiers, he'll probably have 25. He had 25 last time. Then on the day, you reduce it to 23 with suspensions and everything. So I guess he's going to do that, and he'll probably take. I don't know what the rules are about the Confederations Cup, but. Yeah, I mean, I think it's coming out Wednesday or Thursday, the squad, so it's something to look out for.
Are you guys expecting any surprises? Anything that we're going to be, I think, Osorio, or any brand new call-ups that you guys are seeing, or continue to have everybody, Carlos, Giovanni?
No, I mean, I think that, it's going to be all the Europe-based players in the Confederations Cup. I think they're all going to be there. And I think it's going to be most of the players we've seen. I think what Nayib was saying about Luis Reyes from Atlas, I think he's got a good chance of being in the main squad now. And then, I just think it's going to be very, very consistent. And I think in a lot of ways, the Gold Cup squad's going to be more interesting in terms of picking names, because where's Osorio going to go? What's the balance going to be between the experience and the younger players that he wants to give time to? There's talk Rafa Marquez might be in the Gold Cup squad. Maybe Chuy Corona as well in goal there. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
All right. Well, then we'll see what the list comes out, and I'm sure we'll jump on and talk about it in detail and to see, because here comes the two. So many games that could be this summer, and we're starting off already. Hopefully you already got your tickets. If you're in LA, plug in Pancho Villas Army. I'm wearing their cool shirts, always nice shirts. Be a part of the membership there with our friends. But let's wrap it up. Exciting times with the Liguilla, as you saw. Thank you for everyone that's been on the chat. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Nayib. Thank you, Cesar, Jason, and Amy in the background doing work on the chat and also on Twitter. And everyone who was on the live chat. We had a lot of new people that I didn't recognize. So hello. You have people like Saucy Taco. I want to say hi. Sam Castro, Kevin Hernandez, the regulars, Joel, Max, Samuel Jimenez, Juan Arango is on, saying hello to Juan Arango, and obviously Jason making sure that everything stays legit and answering your question, guys. So we do this every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Join us, ask us questions. Where you have videos that come out every couple of days too of what happened. Tell your friends about the Mexican Soccer Show. Invite them to the chat and talk about what's happening. We'll see you guys next week. Mr. Nayib Moran, close us out here for the Mexican Soccer Show. Hasta lunes.
Well, enjoy the Liguilla. I mean, I think it's like Wiso says, Mr. Liguilla is on display quite well, Mr. Gignac. So expect to see a lot of goals from him.
All right, guys, there we go. Hello to Mr. Scrappy Vazquez. He said hi on there. So, all right, guys, talk to you guys next week on Monday. See you on the next episode of the Mexican Soccer Show.